Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about maybe digital drive for street vendor. So when you go across various cities or even the districts, you will find a lot of street vendor like the golgappa walas, the momos walas. We are all become very familiar with these street vendor, but if anything, this pandemic has shown that how carries the whole system of the urban poor is. And for that regard, for the like really the first time actually it is being decided that the urban poor also need the similar kind of protection or social security as for now mostly have been extended towards the rural people. So this is something which has been the highlight since the pandemic started, and we saw the exodus of migrants moving from the big cities to their hometown. So in that regard it becomes important. Now in this video we will discuss about the maybe digital drive. Apart from that, we will also discuss about the another scheme which actually led to the launch of this one, which was PM Swanidhi. We saw about that how PM Swanidhi extended support to the street vendor during the time of lockdowns, and this Mappy digital drive is going to induct the digital payment system into the whole process and will make the transaction smoother for the street vendors and make it easier for the consumer as well. So this is the basic guideline, this is the idea behind this video. So let's start. It has been prompted by the success of Pradhan Mantri Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi, and that is the Swanidhi, PM Swanidhi, which was launched in the wake of COVID-19 lockdown to provide vendors microcredit. So they were provided with the microcredit. What does it mean? Like a little bit of credit amount was actually provided to them so that they can sustain themselves during the time of lockdown, and once the lockdown is over they can again start with their business. So that was the whole idea of starting with the Swanidhi, and that has actually helped a lot of street vendor. And going forward, maybe digital or me to digital drive was started so that it could, like over the top of it, could also make the transaction smoother. Under the PM Swanidhi, 10 lakh street vendors across the country who had availed rupees 10,000. So microcredit, what was the amount which was actually given to the street vendor? It was rupees 10,000. So rupees 10,000 was the microcredit amount credited to the street vendors. Under the PM Swanidhi will be trained in using PM digital payments. Now this is an important aspect, that we are not just talking about the idea of digital drive, but we are talking about that the people need to be educated in digital literacy also. So apart from the idea of like smoothing the payments for digital for the street vendor, the digital payment will also help in increasing the literacy in terms of digital India. So digital India also has a component of digital literacy, and over here the digital India will really help when the street vendor are trained in the ability to do the transaction smoothly and without any problem. So that is going to be one of the major focus under the Maybe digital drive. The vendors would not just be able to receive payments digitally, but also pay for material they procure from seller using the unique QR code. So this is how the system is going to be. So they will have an mobile phone of the vendors will be equipped with the software needed for the transaction and drive training provided to them on safe and secure payment. So basically a kind of a software would be presented on the mobile, mostly in the form of an app. So there will be like an app which will be provided to the vendors. They could like have it over here, and this app will have two features. It can accept payment as well as it can also pay, like how generally your other mobile apps work, where you can get the payment and you can also pay. So similarly this one also, the maybe digital drive, under this also the mobile phones will have a kind of a software which will do both of these functionality. They will be able to receive the payment through it, and they will also be able to pay these sellers for the material they are procuring. For an example, the momos wala, he would have to go and buy the vegetable, so he could do the digital payment to buy the vegetable also. That is the whole idea of the Mabhi digital drive, where the street vendor will also be trained. Like now we know that apart from the digital literacy, there is also a component of financial literacy, so that we know that the fraud cases, financial fraud cases, account for around 67 of the cyber attacks in India. So in that regard, it becomes really important that they are really trained properly, that they are able to smoothly go towards the digital transaction and carry out secure transaction. So this is one thing. Now we just talked about the Mabhi Digital Drive. Let's also get into the scheme which actually triggered the launch of this one, which is your PM Swanidhi. So it is like your Pradhan Mantri Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. So we know that after the lockdown, we have the Atmanirbhar Bharat stimulus package. Through various tranche, the Finance Minister of India launched various Atmanirbhar stimulus package to provide the stimulus of financial fiscal stimulus into the economy, so the demand could be increased and the money could be pumped into the economy. So under that, there is also a scheme specifically for the street vendor to help them resume their business impacted due to the nationwide lockdown. So when the lockdown was going on, there was definitely lockdown on the street vendor also. They could not carry out any business. So the idea of PM Swanidhi is that once that lockdown is over, they should be able to kickstart their business again. Vendors can avail a working capital loan of up to rupees 10,000, which is payable in monthly installment over 1 year. So they can, like, monthly installment, they have to pay it in 1 year on timely or early repayment, and interest subsidy of rupees 7% per annum would be credited to the bank accounts of the beneficiary through DBT. So this is something which is again the idea that the people who have taken this loan also, if they could like really return it early, or if they are making timely payments, then they get an interest subsidy of rupees 7%, and that interest subsidy would be directly provided to their bank account, which is a form of DBT, direct benefit transfer. There is no penalty for early repayment of loan. So if you are able to repay the loan before 1 year, there is no penalty, and in fact you will be able to get a subsidized interest also. So this is the PM Swanidhi. So it's more along the line that without any collateral, or without going through the loopholes, or without going through the hoopolas of the various process which is required for any person to get a loan, they could get rupees 10,000 as a micro credit, and then if they can repay it early or timely basis in a year, they would also get the interest subsidy. So this is the idea behind the PM Swanidhi. If you really look into it, so these were supposed to help like 5 million street vendors. So we have around 5 million street vendor across various cities. So this would have helped them to kickstart their business when the lockdown has really hit them hard. And after the lockdown, when the people, the demand was not very high, so for that peoples to start their business and to sustain during the time of hardship, this loan has actually helped. Now how this particular schemes were being implemented, so I just told you that these are going to be implemented through the urban local bodies as well as the NGOs. So urban local bodies would be the primary implementing agency, so that the street vendor could get these loans. They could be like under the Mabhi digital drive, they could actually get around and learn how to use all these things, will be spearheaded by the local urban bodies. Another important for you to remember is that the focus area for this scheme was urban poor. Like we also have other scheme, you must have heard about the Pradhan Mantri Kalyan Yojana, Garib Kalyan Yojana. Over here also it was actually to everybody, like the people in the rural as well as urban, they were getting the free of cost or very minimal amount of cost for the grains or cereals like the wheat and rice and pulses. So that these are the various schemes which were launched during the time of lockdown. down, which caused lot of hardship specifically to the people who are at the lower strata of the society. So these are important aspects for you to understand for your prelims examination. The idea of these scheme, the aims and objective, the beneficiary, the exact amount of the loan of for an example as well. And from the mains perspective, the whole idea of what kind of initiatives has been taken by the government to help ease down the hardship caused during the lockdown. So these things will come as a, what you can say, example when you are writing that answer. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.